Hey everybody, it's your boy Jersey on Muscle Car Rewind. For those of you, yes, I am that Jersey from Jersey's Rants, but now I am venturing to another project of the XUFN.com internet television community of our Florida studios, basically, because there's a lot of sun and fun, and there's a lot of muscle cars down here, which I happen to love. I am of the age of 42 years old, and well, I love being my age, number one, and number two, because I grew up around muscle cars my whole life. I mean, being a kid, seeing 69 Firebirds and primer and side pipes, the 426 Hemis roaring down my block. You know, it does something to a kid. And I was from a time where everywhere you looked, there they were. You know, and they're really, really missed. Today, we're going to talk about a car that's very, very, very insanely close to my heart. The 67 Camaro SS 396. And number one, it's close to me because my first car was an SS 350. But I was working at Valley Sunoco at 14, 15 years of age, so my SS 350 cost me $100. And well, you needed a lot of work over the past 4 years, but I learned. Okay, without further ado, here's what we're talking about. Now, many of you might notice the standard front end, the non-hideaway headlights. Well, for 1967, of course, was the Camaro's first year, and it was the answer to Ford's Mustang. It had a sibling, the Pontiac Firebird, and what made the car a pony car was it's just what they called them, long hood, short deck, and, you know, which basically what the Mustang was. Long hood, short deck. And I got to admit, as a GM guy, the Mustang was a good-looking car. But, of course, true to fashion, well, GM had to come out with a little bit something of their own. Now, many small blocks were offered, but then Mustang, you know, Ford came out with very, very powerful Mustang 390. Now, these cars were unbelievably fast. And, well, GM just couldn't have, you know, the small block 327 and 350 out there getting beaten by him. So GM came out with the 396 at first at 325 horsepower, which, you know, due to tire technology and, you know, a lot of things back then, you know, it was only maybe a 15-second car at best, 15.1, 14.9. Still, I mean, very quick, but, you know, when we think big blocks, I mean, we think like Chevelle SS 454 out of the box 13-second times. Well, and then you also had to take into consideration that the Camaro had standard rear shocks, which on the back rear, the shock absorbers were mounted right across from each other on the same side, which created wheel hop. And whenever you just pop that clutch or you just laid in an accelerator, if you had an automatic, the wheels would hop and it would go down, which of course is not good for traction. So you know that wheel hop versus the pretty bad tires back then, well, you're not going to get good times. But either way, the 390 Mustang came out with series of horsepowers, and well, 325 was an improvement over a small block, but they needed something more, so then they came out with the fire breather, the 375 horsepower 396. Now, back in '65, when the 396 was introduced for the Corvette, it had 4.25 horse. So you know, the motor was capable of high horsepower. I don't know why they just pegged it at 375 and put it out the door. Who knows? Maybe they didn't want to outsell the Corvette. I wasn't alive. I don't know. It is what it is. But anyway, as I mentioned before, you notice that the Camaro I pictured has the standard grille. Okay, exposed headlights, non-hideaway, which my SS had. Okay, you also may notice that certain SSs look like this. Now, back in the 60s, GM knew how to make a car, but they also knew how to please the American consumer. So they offered a whole bunch of options. And this was one of them. You can combine the Super Sport package with the Rally Sport, the Rally Sport RS package, which had the hideaway headlights shown. The only thing is, instead of saying, RS badges, it had your SS badges, your motor, 327, 350, or we're talking about the big block 396. And, and also you can get the little bumblebee stripe around the nose, which I always kind of liked. I always wanted it for mine, just never could. Also, true to fashion, you can have these cars in automatic 4-speed. You can also have the standard interior, or you can have the deluxe interior with the gauges. And, GM really knew how to put together a car back then. They really knew what to give the consumers. Majority of the interiors look like this. Okay, that was the standard interior, bare bones, plain Jane, nothing really special about it. That's what mine had. And it had the steering wheel had some chrome trim on it, but most important, the horn button. The horn button was a huge SS insignia. Now, as I said, if it was the 350, it said SS, it had 350 underneath it. If it was a big block 396, it was just a big SS horn button. Or at least that's, in my research, what is uncovered. Now, this is the deluxe interior. Now, if you notice, you can see it more with the red interior. It's got custom door panels. It's got a gauge package. And even the seats have a little stripe down the side of it. I mean, it was the custom deluxe interior. I mean, compared to the plain Jane interior, this was like the holy grail at the time. As you can notice, it had rolled down windows. Power windows were an option. Very extremely rare. Even rarer, these cars, these Camaros, you can get them with a fold-down rear seat. A good idea. Two-door car. I mean, as I said, these are options that I wish mine had. Also, I'm going to show you is that the regular 396 Camaros, you had the rear panel, and it was the color of the car. Like mine was the 327. The SS 350, the small block cars, if you had a red car, the back panel was red. Alright? But if you had a big block, 396, 325, 375 horsepower, no matter the color, if the car was white, blue, yellow, or whatever, okay, the panel was black and it looked like this. Now you also notice that the second Camaro pictured was black, so it was a no-brainer. If you had a black car, the panel was automatically black. But notice the gas cap though. Instead of your standard body-colored gas cap, you got a nice huge gas cap with the SS emblem in the middle of it, and it looks sharp. But as an owner, and mine, okay, with all the potholes in Jersey, every time I'd hit a bump, I'd walk around and the OCD in me and having to have things right. I always had to adjust the cap to make sure the SS stayed level, and it was what it was. In short, I can't say enough about this car. It was well put together. If you're buying one of these, you just got to take heed. If you're in a rust belt or wherever, rust accumulates almost everywhere in these cars. But I'm going to tell you something. Like around the rear back window, you got to definitely check that, especially if you have a vinyl roof. Yes, vinyl roofs were an option. And that's the reason why I never liked the vinyl roofs, because of all the moisture traps. And around those rear window seams, it traps a lot, and it goes unnoticed. or unattended, it's going to rot around the whole back window. Then it's going to leak in your trunk, rotting out the trunk and everything else. You also got to be careful if the back window does leak. Okay, those shock mounts are right underneath the window. And that's exactly what happened with my car. The shock mounts rusted. We hit a bump one time. Oh my God, the shocks went right through the trunk. Yeah, it was because, 1985. I was 14, 15. I didn't check these things. The rear wheel wells always rust on these cars. Always. That's just, where water gets trapped in, because a lot of them had that rear wheel molding. And that chrome, as you know, just traps everything underneath it and just rots out the rear wells. Very important. My car didn't have air conditioning. And in the interiors, if you go to the footboard, there's like these little nifty vents, which, you flip the lever up and air comes in through your car. But the thing is that in between the fender and the body, okay, it's also a little storage spot for leaves. And if you get wet leaves in the Northeast or any other state, guess what? Those wet leaves sit in those little panels and they just rust everything out. That's where you're going to get the fender rust. That's where you're going to get the water leaks in the car. Then you got your basic problems with these cars. The heater core breaks, it leaks inside the car, and so forth. But the hideaway headlights, they were a novelty. They look good. I love the hideaway headlight. What am I, Elmer Fudd? Headlights. They stuck every once in a while. Sometimes they would stick closed. They would stick half open, half closed. It's just, as I said, it was the 60s. They were all nifty ideas, but problems happened. My overall assessment of this car is big block, small block. They are fun. They look great. I love them. I wish I can get another one. But as they said, they're very prone to rush. You got to check them out. And first, and the thing I'm always going to say, the 67 Camaro and the 68 Camaro never had cowl induction. It's a 69-year only option. All right? So if you go to buy an SS and they say, oh, it's factory cowl induction, they're full of shit. But, okay, there was a special kind of cowl induction, okay, on the 67 Z28, but it's under the hood. Actually, it's attached to the air cleaner, and it's a little duct that attaches to the firewall. Extremely rare. If you go to even buy one, the prices are like an arm and a leg. So most of you don't have to worry about that. But first and foremost, though, because everybody does it. Okay, I wanted to do it. All right, you put a cowl induction hood on your 67 to 69, and it looks good. But some people, though, they claim it's factory. No. No, I'm sorry. Okay, we're not going to get into muscle car ripoffs, at least not now. Okay, that's my time, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. And, as I said, these are times that are now forgotten. Now we have cookie cutter cars. Now, half of GM is dead. There is no more Pontiac. There is no more Buick. There is no more Oldsmobile. Cadillac's hanging on by a thread. And even if you look in the Ford division, okay, Ford's going strong, but Lincoln Mercury is shrunk. If not, I don't even think it's even around anymore. But, true to fashion, this is why I started this show. The reason why I started this segment. Okay, to hold on to memories gone by and just to relive the days where we had it. And, these cars were fun. Okay, a lot of our parents, our parents met our mothers driving these muscle cars. And if you're a gearhead like me, you just enjoy it every day, hearing and listen to the exhaust, the smell of the car, the rumble, bop, 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 bop. And what I mean by smell of the exhaust is that when you have a carbureted car and it runs a little rich, it's got that nice smell to it. And you know when that car runs rich, it's got power, and you love it. All right, everybody, that's my time. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Jersey. I'm out, and I'll see you guys again.